There's always on the list. They always put 051 Melly on there. I don't know if you know him.
He definitely a demon. People scared of dude.
That's how a free Durker and Vaughn. Freedom though. I'd rather them dead than in jail.
051. Melly wasn't just any savage, he was the savage. A reputation as cold-blooded as they come, with rumors of his body count in the double digits. They don't call him the gravedigger of Chiraq for nothing. In a city full of savages, you must be knee-deep in mayhem to earn a name like that. So, how did Melly rise to be the face of 051? How many enemies did he eliminate? And just how many more deaths did he assist? Find out in this video. Ops killed by Melly. Before all the chaos, Melly was just a regular kid. He went to Deuceable High School. It was there that he got involved with the Mickey Cobras. Their turf stretched from 50th to 51st, from King to Cottage. Melly wasn't just local though. He had strong ties all over the south and east sides of Chicago. His network was impressive, but it came with a price. Everything changed around 2008. That's when his friend Zico was killed by a member of the rival gang, THF 46. That tragic event pulled Melly into the depths of gang activity. The incident occurred on September 27, 2008. Zico, also known as Isaiah Zico Walker, was heading home from Ashton University. He made a pit stop at a barbershop and bumped into a friend. His friend suggested they grab a bite at McDonald's. This sounded like a harmless plan. But things took a dark turn in the McDonald's parking lot. Zico clashed with rival gang members. One of them was Aki from THF 46. The fight escalated and Zico was shot multiple times. He didn't make it and was pronounced dead the next day. Aki was arrested for the murder. But before anyone could say justice served, he fled the state. On the run for almost a year, he was finally caught in 2009. Now he's serving 28 years behind bars. Zico's death hit 051 Melly hard. Melly and the 051 Young Money crew were devastated. Fueled by grief and anger, they went all out against THF 46. This tragic event sparked one of Chicago's deadliest gang wars. Retaliations flew back and forth like a deadly tennis match with lives lost on both sides for years. And that's how a simple McDonald's run turned into a nightmare, igniting a brutal conflict that would scar the city for years to come. 3.5 years after Zico's death, 051 Melly made his fierce debut in the world of violence. In February 2012, he took the life of Shaq, a member of 600, alongside his accomplice Kiddo. Melly lived right in the Lion's Den on 5909 South Calumet Avenue, the very block where Shaq was killed. Shaquille Rush, known as Shaq, was from Auburn Gresham. His mother, Dorothy Rush, remembers him as a young man who rarely left home. But on the night of February 2nd, 2012, the 20-year-old ventured out. He was attending a party in Washington Park before he was gunned down on South Calumet Avenue, according to the Cook County Medical Examiner's Office. Shaq was a family man. He loved spending time with his two brothers and sister. He was passionate about rap, often writing lyrics and mixing beats on his computer. His uncle was his favorite music partner. Dorothy remembers him as being very cheerful and always smiling. He was never angry and made everyone laugh. Tragically, violence was no stranger to Dorothy Rush's family. Her husband, Luther Rush, had been shot dead in 1998. The family was tight-knit, constantly talking about their lost loved ones. Shaq attended Paul Robeson High School in Englewood, but didn't graduate. He planned to get his GED and hoped to attend Kennedy King College. Despite Shaq's murder, 600 couldn't retaliate against Melly. Adding insult to injury, Melly spent about 6 months openly disrespecting Shaq's memory. Life on South Calumet Avenue never seemed to miss a beat. Tragically, it often danced to the rhythm of gunfire. Melly's second body was believed to be a woman named Amanda Fitch, known on the streets as 051 Big A. On November 14, 2013, she was killed in cold blood. Around 5:56 p.m. that evening, the 24-year-old woman was found shot to death in a vehicle at a gas station on South Stony Island Avenue. The paramedics rushed her to John H. Stroger Jr. Hospital, but it was too late. At 6:53 p.m., Amanda Fitch was pronounced dead. The scene was a mess. A small gray sedan parked by the pumps bore the scars of violence with 3 bullet holes in the driver's side window. Sergeant Antoinette Ursitti, with Police News Affairs, reported that the shooter fled in a vehicle. No one knew why Amanda Fitch was targeted. Word on the street was that Bob O put a price on her head. But why? Amanda seemed like the laid-back type, more interested in smoking and popping X than getting involved in street wars. Questions lingered. Why was she assassinated? Who pulled the trigger? Was she involved in street life at all? Many said no. Big A wasn't known for letting off shots. If her death was due to family ties alone, that was messed up. The night of her murder probably saw 051 celebrating, ignorant of the loss. Few are innocent in the streets, but Big A seemed one of the few. Getting gunned down at a gas station was a terrible way to go. Melly caught his third body with the murder of OTF Newski. Newski was a star on the rise. As Lil Durk's cousin, he had music in his blood. On May 28, 2014, the duo dropped a hot track called OC, but just 3 days later, tragedy struck. On May 31st, Nusky was chilling in one of Lil Durk's SUVs outside a shopping complex. Out of nowhere, someone pulled up and opened fire. Nusky tried to drive off but crashed into a store. Sadly, he was pronounced dead at the scene. Rumors flew like bullets. The prime suspect was 051 Melly. The word on the street was that Lil Durk had dissed the 051 Young Money crew in a video. Durk is believed to have dissed them at the bus stop where Lil Mark, one of the 051 Young Money crew, had been killed. This stirred up a hornet's nest. Revenge, they say, is a dish best served cold, and in this case, it was served with a side of confusion. Some thought Nusky was an easier target. Others believed the shooters thought they were aiming for Lil Durk. In the end, the streets were left with more questions than answers. Nusky's promising career was cut short, leaving a void that no amount of rumors could fill. Less than a year after OTF Nusky's death, his affiliate OTF Chino became Melly's fourth victim. OTF Chino, whose real name was MacArthur Swindle, had a lot going on at the time. He was part of THF 46 and also managed Lil Durk, but things took a deadly turn because 051 Melly had a score to settle. Chino had appeared in a music video by THF TP, who made a habit of mocking their rivals, the dead ones included. This video didn't just rub salt in the wounds, it was a full-on sandstorm. Melly wasn't one to let such disrespect slide. Melly found his moment. He emptied a clip into Chino's car on the 8400 block of South Stony Island Avenue. It was swift, brutal, and final. Ironically, Chino had just come from an anti-violence event with Bulls star Joachim Noah. Talk about a bitter twist of fate. One moment advocating for peace, the next he is a victim of the very violence he stood against. Such was life on those streets, where even the peacemakers couldn't escape the crossfire. Durk mourned his friend's death while Melly celebrated non-stop. During this period, Melly was also involved or shot at several of his ops, but he was not credited for the killings. I will save those chilling tales for later in this video. Right now, let's focus on Melly's grim tally. On November 27, 2016, Melly committed his fifth murder. He killed a young member of the Folly Boys gang known as Lil Del. Lil Del has always been entangled in the deadly game of tit for tat on the streets of Chicago. The cycle of violence claimed his life one fateful Sunday afternoon. At just 18, Lil Del's story came to a tragic end, courtesy of 051 Melly. This was in retaliation for the murder of Bankroll Q, a member of 051 Young Money. Bankroll Q had been taken out by members of Folly Boys and TWI from GGE or Motown, and so the deadly dance continued. Lil Del was sitting in a parked vehicle on the south side of the Gresham neighborhood at 2:03 p.m. when a dark-colored SUV rolled up. Shots were fired, shattering the calm of the afternoon. The SUV sped away northbound on Marshfield, leaving chaos in its wake. Del took several bullets to the chest. In a desperate bid for survival, he drove himself to Christ Medical Center in Oak Lawn. But fate had other plans. He was pronounced dead at 2:22 p.m., just a block away from his home on East 101st Place. Melly's sixth body was a 22-year-old man named Trayvon. He was fatally shot in the South Shore neighborhood on just another Thursday night in Chicago. On December 1st, 2016 at 8:05 p.m., officers responded to a call of shots fired on South Cornell. They found Trayvon M. Dickerson in a gangway. He had gunshot wounds to the head and abdomen. The Cook County Medical Examiner's office later confirmed that Trayvon died at the scene. Trayvon had lived nearby on South Ellis. Why was he attacked? Who knows? The circumstances were as clear as Chicago's winter skies. Dre, also known as Quiet Money, is rumored to be Melly's seventh victim. The two were said to be childhood friends. Dre, also known as Pocketown or QMB054, met a tragic end in June 2017. It's a story that's as shocking as it is sad, filled with betrayal and a deadly bounty. Melly's motive is said to be cold, hard cash. Reports claim Melly killed Dre for a bounty, using the money to bail out his brother. Jail calls later surfaced, with Melly allegedly discussing the murder. A witness even saw him return to his car after the incident. Dre's mother didn't hold back, accusing Melly of backdooring her son. Melly was arrested but eventually released due to insufficient evidence. Twy was ninth on Melly's list of doom. Twy was part of GGE, Gangster Gang Eternal, a name that practically screamed bad decision. He was allegedly involved in the 2016 murder of Melly's friend, Bankroll Q. Fast forward to 2018. Twy met his end, and it was a messy one. The streets buzzed with whispers that Melly was the one who pulled the trigger. After all, the timing was suspiciously perfect, and Melly had a reputation to uphold. But like any good urban legend, the truth was murky. Some said it was Dump Street. Others pointed fingers at another GGE member. Yet Melly's name stuck, woven into the narrative by the rivalry between GGE and 051 Young Money. So did Melly do it? That's the million-dollar question. But in street justice, sometimes the legend legend is more potent than the truth. Earlier, I mentioned that Melly was involved in killing some rivals, even if he didn't pull the trigger himself. Let's look at some of these assisted killings. Melly's assisted killings. Melly was believed to be involved in the killing of 15-year-old Rahim, a member of THF 46. The tragic event took place in a Bronzeville neighborhood alley on the night of May 24, 2016. Rahim was the ninth and youngest victim of a brutal Memorial Day weekend during which 41 people had been shot. Out of these, 3 were killed and 7 wounded from Sunday afternoon to early Monday morning. At 8:15 p.m. on Sunday, police discovered Rahim and a 14-year-old boy shot in an alley near the intersection of 45th Street and Cottage Grove Avenue. This particular South Side block has a notorious history of gang-related shootings and homicides, spanning from the north end of Bronzeville to the Inglewood neighborhood. The 14-year-old, shot in the foot, was taken to Coma Children's Hospital. Unfortunately, Rahim succumbed to his injuries at the scene. The teens had been outside when someone in a passing light-colored sedan opened fire, hitting them both. News of Rahim's death spread quickly. Dozens of family members and friends rushed to the scene. Rahim's mother sobbed uncontrollably as mourners tried to console her. Another woman, well known to the police at the scene, angrily confronted the officers before being led away by family. In the South Shore neighborhood, a man named Ario Fitch later faced serious charges for the shooting. Ario was charged with first-degree murder. Assistant State's Attorney Jennifer Keating shared the details at a hearing. Witnesses pointed fingers at Ario. They claimed he was the shooter. Ario wasn't just any shooter. He was a member of the Young Money faction of the Mickey Cobra Street gang. Prosecutors believe this was payback. On May 15th, Ario and Melly had been shot in a drive-by. Eye for an eye, as they say. Melly was allegedly with Ario during the retaliatory shooting. Ario had a bit of a rap sheet. He was already out on bail for an earlier gun charge when Rahim was killed. Cook County Judge James Brown didn't take any chances. He refused to grant him bail. Quint is another member of THF 46 who met a grim fate at the hands of Melly and his associates. He was killed on April 8, 2011. Melly is said to have had a hand in it, but rumors swirled that 051 Montana pulled the trigger. Quint's brother, THF Rome, later avenged him by shooting 051 Montana. Then there's Trix, a member of 600 whose death in 2012 had Melly's fingerprints all over it. 051 Kiddo pulled the trigger this time, but how it went down is murky. Some say Trix was in his car in an alley. Others whisper that C-Dye set him up, dropping his location to 051 members. C-Dye didn't help matters either. He dissed Trix, saying he wasn't really part of 600. This kicked off a heated debate. Was Trix a genuine gang member or just a hanger-on? Supporters pointed to tweets and music videos showing Trix with 600. Haters shrugged it off. Trix's death added fuel to the fire between 600 and 051 Young Money. The cycle of revenge was on. Each side was determined to even the score. The streets didn't forget, and neither did the gangs. Melly was suspected of involvement in the death of another 600 member known as Lil Boo. Lil Boo was more than just a name. He was the 600 general and the shot caller. Before founding 600, he was a gangster disciple from Brick City, a tough spot on 5900 South Calumet Avenue. Between 2012 and 2014, Lil Boo had a knack for getting in trouble with the law, spending a fair share of his time behind bars. Lil Boo was murdered in a drive-by shooting near his own neighborhood of Washington Park in Southside Chicago. He was just 22. Around 11:30 a.m., a gold car drove up and a gunman jumped out, firing shots. Lil Boo, who was walking on the 5800 block of South King Drive, was hit several times. He died less than 2 hours later at Northwestern Memorial Hospital. The murder involved 4 shooters: Uchi, Ario, Melly, and Bebe from 051 Young Money. There's a twist. It's believed Lil Boo's girlfriend at the time tipped off his location. She had ties to FBG Duck and Melly, but this betrayal didn't go unnoticed. Booby was later killed by some for her involvement. Melly's journey wasn't all triumphs. He also lost some close allies along the way. You might remember his cousin Zuko, whose death I talked about earlier. Another significant loss was Bankroll Q. Bankroll Q met his tragic end on November 26, 2016. It was around 2:15 a.m. on the 8800 block of South Exchange, according to Chicago police. Community activist Andrew Holmes reported a chaotic scene. People at the party leaped from a second-floor porch and windows after gunfire erupted. Bankroll Q was hit in the chest and died at the scene, as confirmed by the Cook County Medical Examiner's Office. He had lived on the 4500 block of South Lake Park Avenue. 4 years before Bankroll Q's death, a 14-year-old Melly's friend, named Fathead, was tragically killed. Fathead lived on the 8000 block of South Eberhard Avenue. He was found on the 7000 block of South Union Avenue in Englewood with several gunshot wounds. It was around 8:40 p.m. on a Friday, according to the Chicago Fire Department and the medical examiner. Witnesses said Fathead was walking with at least one other person when a gray van pulled up. A man in a dark hoodie stepped out, gun in hand. The rest is a haunting memory, especially for Melly. Melly also lost his 19-year-old cousin Lil Rob around this time. Lil Rob was one of 3 victims in drive-by shootings on the south side early that morning. Around 2:35 a.m., shots rang out from a light-colored sedan cruising down South Normal Avenue. According to Chicago Police Department News Affairs officer Hector Alfaro, Lil Rob, walking through a gangway, was hit in the abdomen. He was rushed to John H. Stroger Junior Hospital of Cook in critical condition. Unfortunately, he didn't make it. The Cook County Medical Examiner's office confirmed his death. He lived on the same block where the shooting occurred. Like the popular saying that everything good or bad inevitably comes to an end, 051. Melly eventually caught his own bullet. 051 Melly's death. On September 1st, 2019, Melly was living it up at a party at 6107 South St. Lawrence, smack in the middle of the Jarrow City hood. The vibe was electric until it wasn't. Shots rang out and Melly was hit multiple times. Nate 007 of Taekwon World was behind the trigger. They rushed Melly to the University of Chicago Medical Center, but it was too late. The doctors pronounced him dead, and an autopsy later confirmed what everyone wanted or feared. Melly had been murdered. Grief turned to anger. Melly's crew, 051YM and other allied gangs, weren't about to let this slide. They created Mellyway in his honor and took immediate bloody retaliation. Nate 007, the man of the hour for all the wrong reasons, remained an enigma for his block. Nate was part of Taekwon World, a branch of the Gangster Disciples. Rumors flew thick and fast. Many believed Melly had been set up by another gang at the party. Adding fuel to the fire, Nate got a shout out in TB's song Taekwon Way. The lyrics were explicit. Wooski and Lil Twan put niggas in dirt. 007 put in all of that work. Before all this chaos, Nate dabbled into rapping. His career didn't last long, but he left a mark. Back in 2011, he dropped a music video on YouTube called Let Him Talk. It even featured Gakira K.I. Barnes, the notorious fallen EBT member. Melly's death was a flashpoint in the war, a tragic end and a brutal reminder of the street's unforgiving nature. 051 has many affiliates that are just as deadly as Melly. Let's look at some of them, starting with Isaiah Crone Smith, known to many as Chronicle. He had a reputation that could make even the boldest gangsters think twice. Chronicle's story is a blend of tragedy and vengeance. His older brother Jarvis was his hero, his mentor, and when he was killed in December 2005 by Lil Les from Pockettown, Chronicle's world turned dark. Lil Les is currently doing time for that murder, but Chronicle didn't wait for justice to be served in a courtroom. In 2007, with a fire fueled by grief, Chronicle took down Rico and another op from Pockettown. Not a bad day's work, but it was only the beginning. His first kill was Stefan from So Icy, a hit involving Lil Mark and some 757 members. This solidified his status as one of the most important figures of Young Money, alongside the likes of Zico, Lil Mark, and Lance. Chronicle wasn't just feared, he was respected, even by his enemies. He had allies and friends across various sets: M-Mob, Taekwon World, Wooga World, 757, and TTB. His close circle included figures like Melly, Mark, Lil Mister, Brick, and Wooski, to name a few. Despite his fearsome reputation, Chronicle's life was marred by personal loss. His mother died when he was just 3, and he also lost his father when he was in high school. Jarvis stepped in as a father figure, and his murder hit Chronicle hard. By the time of his death on April 16, 2021, Chronicle had almost 30 bodies to his name, including assists. His involvement in the murders of Bobo, Baldy, and Berger from 600 made him a legend in his own right. Another individual who belongs on this list is Lil Mark Campbell. He was Tuka's brother and tight with Melly, FBG Duck, Tutu, Lil Jojo, and many more. He was quite the social butterfly, in a gangsta kind of way. Mark's claim to fame was a diss track, No Competition. This track dropped on March 25th, 2014, and named more names than a school attendance list. Baldy, Trix, The Thang, OD, Louisiana Capone, J Money, and Rhonda Numbanine all got shout-outs. And by shout-outs, I mean scathing disses. The next day, March 26th, Twilla from THF 46 caught Mark at a bus stop. Somehow Mark survived, or maybe Twilla was just being polite and giving him a head start. But fate isn't known for politeness. 2 days later, on March 28th, Mark was back at the same bus stop. This time, Twilla brought friends, King Von, D-Rose, and T-Roy. When Mark tried to run, bullets from Twilla or D-Rose found the back of his head, and he died almost immediately. In his honor, 051 named their block Mark Block. However, for their ops, the mocking on social media began almost immediately. D-Rose, Vaughn, and T-Roy had a field day. Twilla even visited the bus stop to gloat. Lil Durk joined in a few days later, but 051 wasn't having it. This was when Melly got revenge on Lil Durk by killing his cousin Newski. Ironically, King Von and Lil Mark were once friends in high school before Von joined their block. In 2022, paperwork from the CPD revealed that Mark and his buddy T-Streets were responsible for the death of Tony from THF 46. Mark was the shooter, and Streets was the driver. Moving on from Lil Mark, 051 Kiddo is another name held in high regard. 051 Kiddo is a Chicago drill rapper with a story as intense as his music. Kiddo grew up surrounded by his mother, grandmother, younger brother, and his father, who had a foot firmly planted in gang life. Before his street life took off, Kiddo dreamt of playing in the NBA or becoming a rapper. He even had a YouTube channel where he shared his aspirations. School life at Nicholson STEM Academy and later at Kenwood Academy High School wasn't exactly smooth sailing. He was a self-proclaimed troublemaker and often found himself in brawls. The situation took a darker turn when he was shot in a drive-by at 15, leading him to drop out in the 11th grade. Kiddo's official entry into the gang and rap world began in 2011. By April 2012, he faced his first arrest on undisclosed charges. The arrest count didn't stop there. That year saw multiple run-ins with the law, including an armed robbery charge that eventually landed him a 21-year prison sentence in September 2014. He was released in April 2023, spending a few months on house arrest until June 2023. After getting out of prison, Kiddo focused on his music career, releasing songs like Step in Blood, Don't Respond, They Know, and No Peace. His return included feuds with other Chicago rappers, especially Tay Savage, leading to diss tracks and online arguments. Just as his music started gaining traction, trouble found him again. In February 2024, Kiddo was arrested in Kankakee, Illinois, on multiple firearm charges, including aggravated unlawful use of a weapon and possession of a stolen firearm. Let's talk about another respected person in these streets, 051 Rose. He is a drill rapper with a reputation as heavy as his beats. Rose was born in Chicago's Tri-Taylor neighborhood. Life led him to the Drexel Towers on the south side, the stomping grounds for his gang, Young Money 051 Mickey Cobras. Rose's rap sheet is longer than his lyrics. By 2023, he had racked up 56 arrests. His first was at the age of 10 in 1999. Before turning 18, he was arrested 25 times. His offenses ranged from stealing cars to battery and from assaulting school staff to using armor-piercing bullets. If it was illegal, chances are Rose had dabbled in it. Allegedly, Rose didn't stop at just theft and assault. He's linked to several murders, adding to his notorious legend. One high-profile case was the murder of Kamari Bobo Belmont, a rival gang member. Bobo had just tasted freedom after being released from jail on March 6, 2017. As he headed home, a white SUV carrying Rose, Zodic Wap, Chronicle, and 051 KD pulled up next to him at a red light. They ended Bobo's life in a hail of bullets. He was charged in 2021, but Rose allegedly beat the rap. Another name on Rose's deadly playlist is Delonte Lante McDaniel, a member of the Poppy Gang. Lante was gunned down in 2020 outside a convenience store on Chicago's west side. The murder, caught on camera, showed a suspect in clothing identical to Rose's Facebook photos. This digital slip-up led to his arrest for Lante's murder in 2020. Despite his life of crime, Rose found time for a rap career. He dropped his first track on YouTube in 2011 and has since released numerous mixtapes and music videos. His lyrics often target rival gangs, mixing music with menace. Lil Mick's another one whose claim to fame was on the back of a murder. He's responsible for the death of rising rapper L.A. Capone from the 600 set. It all went down on September 26, 2013, when L.A. Capone, fresh out of a recording studio, was ambushed. At least 2 cars filled with 051 and 757 members rolled up. Lil Mick, armed with a .45 caliber handgun, confronted him with 2 shots, one to the lower back, one to the thigh. L.A. Capone bled out and died. After the murder, Lil Mick went for a new look. He cut off all his dreads, perhaps hoping for a fresh start. But karma had other plans. On August 21, 2014, police nabbed him for the murder. The gavel dropped on February 23, 2017, and he was sentenced to 60 years in prison. Prison wasn't kind to Lil Mick. L.A. Capone's friends C-Dye and Rhonda Numbanine allegedly jumped and beat him up inside. Before his arrest, life outside wasn't much better. He was beaten up by Chief Keef of O-Block, and he was involved with Kayla B, the sister of King Von, who was also associated with 051, Jaro, STL, EBT, Mob, and Brick Squad. To add to his misery, an affiliate, Rocco, testified against him. Rocco's currently serving 24 years behind bars for murder. He played a part in the death of L.A. Capone alongside his buddy Lil Mick, who drew a much longer sentence. Rocco had a reputation. He was the guy who'd shoot at anything that moved. Seriously, if it breathed, it was a target. He tangled with rival gangs like Lexville and even his own 051 sometimes. His nicknames were as fierce as his actions: Spot 'em, Got 'em, and Rockhead. But here's the kicker. Rocco turned on Lil Mick, testifying against him. This snitching shaved his sentence down to 24 years, leaving Mick to rot for 60. Rocco might be off the streets, but what about his legacy? That's a tale still whispered in the alleyways. Melly and many of these guys lived and died by the code of the streets. Their legacies are ruthless efficiency, undying loyalty, and an insatiable thirst for revenge. If you enjoyed this video, click on the card showing on your screen right now for more videos.